Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I trust all the members of the House have had a very fruitful caucus, both for their stomachs and for their brains, as we have come to what I believe is a reasonable compromise in terms of amendments for both the opposition and the government. Now, I will be covering a couple of areas of concern that the government have raised over the course of this discourse, namely taxation or tax breaks, the powers of the committee, the ability for the committee to price fix the biodiesel, and the physical safety of the collection points. Now, on to the first substantive, tax, or rather tax breaks. We accept that it might be unreasonable to subsidize the entire running cost of the company, or rather to cushion them for such a long time and so significantly. So we are willing to scale back and simply not tax them for the initial startup cost, which includes taxation regarding, for example, the building of physical structures like the collection points themselves, but we will not subsidize their day-to-day running. And we expect that eventually they will also be turning over a profit, so this should not be a problem. Now, regarding powers, there is one area in the bill which a representative of the government has brought up before, where we basically mention that the committee is allowed to make decisions that are advantageous and convenient, I believe are the words that we use. We will strike out that section of the clause, meaning that the powers that they can exercise are those that are regulated by the first schedule, which, as some of the members of the government agree with ourselves, is very well regulated and has many precedents before. Okay, let's see. Price fixing. All right. We understand that price fixing could potentially be an issue if the body is given enough power to basically regulate the price of biodiesel. And I think, as one member of the government very eloquently put it, it could result in a lot of stockpiling and rather undesirable outcomes. So we will remove this power for them to dictate the price, and we will peg the price of the biodiesel to the world economy and the price of diesel at the pumps, for example, in order to remain competitive and to better spur on the economy by making sure that we can keep our edge. Okay, and one other thing is the physical safety of the collection points themselves. Any of you here who might be avid YouTubers might have seen a video where the military tests a wall of concrete by slamming an F4 Phantom into it. And the wall is basically just solid concrete with metal rebar, which basically bars the metal in the concrete. It's a very cheap material, although I have to admit it is rather thick. But basically, after that, there was no structural damage to the block itself. The plane was completely pulverized, and nothing behind the block was compromised. So there are actually many practical and cheap solutions that we can use to harden these buildings, and we will in fact look into contracting or bringing on board a security company to help us galvanize our initiatives and the plans that we use to keep these buildings secure. Now let's see. It has also been brought to our attention that perhaps doing this on a massive scale from the start might be a little too ambitious and may not be feasible given the amount of oil that a country like ours produces. I was under the impression that we produce a lot of oil, but apparently I was corrected by somebody who knows more than me. So we propose building first a pilot plant on Jurong, as always, but we are also looking into building a plant at Tuas. Why? Because Tuas is an area where a lot of food stuff is created, and there's a lot of, obviously, oil output from the area, so it may help in terms of saving costs if we build the plant there instead. Definitely, if this bill passes, we will look into selecting a committee that will do a proper analysis of the areas and decide on which is the most prudent. I think this goes without saying. And one more thing that was proposed was the idea that we decentralize the refining process. We basically create small refineries, like maybe near neighborhoods and stuff, where people can actually participate in bringing like their used cooking oil from home and things like that, and basically scaling things down as well. And the smell problem can be mitigated by pumping the oil directly into the reactor. So this was something that I was assured of, and I do not believe that will be an issue. Yeah, I think that covers most of the amendments. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Speaker, given the extensive modifications which drastically change the shape of the original bill, the government is prepared to consider the bill with amendments by the opposition.
Yes, the member for the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to propose that the bill be read a second time. I believe that we've had a very productive discussion, and I think we've managed to come to an agreement. So as such, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be read a second time. Thank you.
Order. This House moves that the bill be read a second time. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
The contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order. This House will adjourn till 9:50 a.m. tomorrow.